be.
I can be.
While I break it down.
Scott. I can be.
Scott, believe.
I can be. I can be.
Whatever you wanna be.
I can be.
Just have to believe.
I can be.
Special.
I can be. I can be.
One more time,
I can be.
say I can. Mama always told me that I could be whatever. Anything I'm doing good, I can do better. Don't be afraid to fail, just try. Follow your heart, don't lose your smile. Not everybody will like what you do, but don't let it stop you from being true to you. And at the end of the day, all that you have to say. You're beautiful, you're talented, you're a star. You're a star.
I'm beautiful, I'm talented, I'll go far.
And you're sure to go far. You're beautiful, you're talented, you're a star. Yeah.
I'm beautiful, I'm talented, I'll go far.
You're beautiful, you're talented, you're a star. Now repeat after me.
Welcome to HMP TV, Mind Your Business. Another episode where we try to inspire our community with business owners from our community, which we want to share with you, give them a platform to talk about their business, talk about their experience, and share it with you who are thinking about having a business or you've already got a business, and just to understand the realities of that. So today, I've got Dean Okai. Welcome along.
Thank you, Asari. Glad to be here.
So we're just going to talk a little bit about your business. So first of all, just simple question. How did you get into business?
From the age of 9, and it doesn't sound plausible, for whatever reason, I used to buy Exchange and Martin Loop, and I would just study them. And I would look at the printers. I'd say, I always wanted to make films. And I'd say, right, so they're going to print the boxes, they're going to do this. This is where you buy the videotapes. You're going to set up a room with a bank of machines, which ended up being pirate videos when I first moved out. And I would always watch shows about business or pick the business element out. I mean, from 9 years old, I was a Nigel Benn fan. And I would watch, how can I forget his name when I know all his bloody brothers and sisters? Ambrose Mendy.
Yeah,
representing
back in the day.
Nigel Benn, and the Yiddish gents would come at him, and they'd be cool and calm, and they'd eat him up, and he was so confident. I said, I want to be like that. I want to be so smooth in my delivery when they come for me. They're gonna go down like chicken. And 10, 11, 12, in this period of time, I was always selling things at school. I'd get in trouble. But I knew they would never harm me. And I was always enjoying myself. So they called my mum to the school because I had kidnapped some beryl pens from the stockroom and sold them around the school. This came back very quickly. My mum was called into the office, as she was when I liberated adult magazines from the shop, tore out pages and sold them for tuck money. Very quickly, the ownership came back to me. So I just had a taste for giving people things and receiving payment back for it. And I loved it. And at this stage, I will meet men and women who said, I dabbled in business, I had a business and it went bust and it terrified me. And what I always say to the guys is, well, the first time you were with a woman, you probably weren't that successful, but did it stop you? For me, it's very comparable. It's the exact same thing. I was right back on the horse. The next day, I was thirsty to start another business. So now it's just a nature, something that's part of my DNA.
So when did you set up your first, call it formal business?
Legitimate business. God. That would be legitimate business, would be fun shops around 98.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was it. That
West
was
Norwood.
booming in those days.
It was booming in those
Well, it's
days
still selling
because
those.
of those gentlemen who supplied us with a substance dependency issue, who would frequently turn over their mobile phones, frequently want credit because they weren't connected, and it was a great turnover, especially in that area as well.
And then how did you progress from there? Did those keep going, or when did you change direction?
That was shut down also because of the nature of the area, because we had 3 burglaries in 3 months.
Wow.
That was an education as well. because your 20s is for learning to deal with stress. One of the things that I talk to people about in business is correctly learning the place for stress. So if you keep it within your character that you're going to take it on board when the wolves are at the door, when the landlord has the bailiffs at the door, when your bills are piling up and you're about to get locked off, I compartmentalize and use that to strategize. Now, off the back of that strategy, I will use it for marketing. So if people have heard of me or seen me in a video about the suit shop, I wasn't just speaking about that, because as you take something, you have to give something. And I was telling our brothers and sisters that now you should just feel comfortable to patronize black businesses. But the wolves were at the door at that period. I didn't panic. I put on my cape and I jump out the window, because I know that in the period of time I'm wasting panicking, I could have been effectively marketing, and I knew what was going to come off the back of that. So I was 10 grand behind the year before, which after 8 years was the lowest year. And that pattern is on the decline. Within 3 weeks of one video going viral in WhatsApp and other social media, within 3 weeks I was back in the black.
Excellent.
So once you have an understanding of these things and you say, right, so that's the methodology on that, that's the practical implementation, duplicate. And then that means I can apply that to anything and everything. Effective communication. And then when you sit back, you say, well, what do corporate companies do? Well, the difference between small businesses and corporate companies are they have a board. The reason the stress load is less is because it's shared.
Absolutely.
So if I'm a managing director or chief executive, I think I've got to deal with marketing, I've got to deal with personnel, I've got to deal with bills, I've got to deal with home life, and in somewhere there's going to be a give. So it's going to be your nearest and dearest, it's going to be your children, or it's going to be business, or it's going to be your colleagues. So your full-time job is a balancing act of juggling. And every now and again, you will, just like if you ride a bike, drop a ball. If you get on a bike, you might be going at 60 miles an hour. At some point, you're going to come off that bike.
Fall off.
What separates people is how they get up from falling down.
Absolutely.
Now, if you envisage it happening to you, you're aware, you already know how to compose yourself and deal with the ramifications of what is happening around you. For me, I deal with it with silence, because if I react, I might drop a nuclear bomb where it was only necessary to use a grenade, possibly a 45, possibly just slap you, and quite possibly just kiss my teeth.
No, interesting. So there you got some tips there. How to deal with stress. And then also you got something, it's interesting, there's a book called Think and Grow Rich, and in there he talks about the importance of having a mastermind group. And basically the principle is just having some people that you can reflect on, a mentor, advisors and so on. It doesn't necessarily have to be a formal arrangement, but it's good to have people you can bounce ideas off. So you've got some good tips there. So what was the next stage? What was after that?
Before that, I'll just say I'm very glad that you brought that up, because the more functional people are, the more circles of support they have. And whenever I'll speak to people who are dysfunctional, I don't need anybody, I got it, I can do it. I say, yeah, but I'm not going to tell you I'm the most functional person in the world, but I am functional. And I have a good circle of support with those who are stronger in areas than me. You know, I can look at a brother like Paul McKenzie, and in terms of his personal life, far more successful than me and far more experienced in particular things. So I surround myself with a council that I can always draw from visually, just by their example. And you do take things on by osmosis. My business partner, Nana, in the Road CEO, there are things that I draw on. That's a very composed man. You see, I can have fires in my head, but the world will never be aware that my head is on fire, because my exterior always has to be cool, because I realize I have now put teams together with those masterminds who are looking at me. Now, if I panic, it falls down.
Absolutely.
So when you create a mastermind, it isn't just to create a plan. These are circles of support that you draw down on the skills that aren't your best. They are your counsel. And this is why whatever you put together in that mastermind will always, not sometimes, always come to fruition. Unless you suffer some kind of neuroses and you self-sabotage. And that's possibly a different show.
Yeah, different issue, but interesting one. So that's where you get the support. Get the support in your business. One of the things to think about: don't do it alone. It's business can be very lonely. Trust me, it can be very lonely. And when the stress comes and you're on your own, it's very, very difficult. Sometimes you have to accept your partner may be the person who said, "This is a bad idea. Don't do it."
Absolutely.
So that might not be the person you're going to have to rely on when things go wrong. You go back to them; they're going to tell you so. So you have to, sometimes build yourself around some other people. So tell me, how did the Suits Direct idea come about?
It wasn't an idea; it was an opportunity.
Oh, okay.
A colleague of mine was doing sales at Addison Lee, and he said, "Come and do this with me." And I said, "No, I'm not interested." I was actually helping a friend's ex-lady in another shop on a weekend, and he says, "Well, this is what you do, but I watch you, you're so good at it." I said, "Well, this is not what I do." At that time, I was running a web and graphic design business with my son's mum, and I had no desire or appetite for retail after the phone shops. And then you've got to look and say, well, that's a psychological barrier. Get out of your own way. This is an opportunity which is real and earns money every day. Whereas web and graphic design, you're punting for clients. But on a high street, people come in the door voluntarily. Then I looked at the price of the suits and the markup and the consistency of a regular custom, and it's a no-brainer. You see, this is what business is. They're opportunities.
Absolutely.
And when you have a limited experience, or you're very passionate, this is my business, I'm very passionate, I learned to let that go. And now, at this stage of my journey, I'm in the business of doing business. So opportunities always whisper, but in every room, there's an opportunity for business. If there's a load of rubbish outside and you're on the phone saying, I need to get rid of this. Where can I get a van to come and collect all this rubbish? This man's got some money, I know. Even if that's to pawn his watch, sell his shoes, he has some resource to pay me to get rid of that. I hired a van, I saw how cheap it was. I know how long it took me to clear it. A business was born. That's how Virgin Airlines was born. Richard Branson was stranded on an island.
It's an idea.
So he started talking in the room and he chartered a plane. How much is that? Well, I've got the resources, but everybody's stranded. So he went around the room and he started selling the tickets on the plane that he just chartered. That was it. He made a tiny profit, but covered costs. So, you mean I can do this?
Yeah, there's always opportunities around the corner. Another good lesson for you. So, how's it been? When did you start? When did you start that?
2009.
Okay, so it's 9 years.
2009.
And how's it been?
The funny thing about being on the high street is you meet so many different people, and there are various businesses that I'm in now based off the fact that I've known these men. And I didn't used to, I would inquire, what do you do if you don't mind me asking? And it's funny, any brother or sister that comes in the shop, they will always get that question, and they might find I'm swapping numbers with them immediately, because although I don't know what I'm going to do with you, my spirit takes to you. You are qualified, which is my minimum criteria, and my ultimate criteria is that we are of a similar ilk. So in terms of the business goes up, business goes down. You are the only one that has to remain constant. If you are sailing a ship, the waves aren't within your control, but you must be solid at the wheel. Even when the big one takes you up and you don't know how you're going to land, or if you're going to make it, you must remain composed and at the wheel. You can never be derelict of duty. So I have gone up here on days and really felt myself. I have gone down here and then look around and there's nobody to talk to, which in that instance of my balance is where I rely on the counsel of my brothers, just having a blowout. So I will have a drink with my brothers, diffuse the pressure, and deal. And tomorrow is always another day with a new opportunity. But when you wallow in it, when you invest in the low times, you have no concept of arising on that horizon again. And it's always, not so, always possible. It's only when you walk away from that wheel at the boat and become derelict of duty by hiding in women, drinking past where you're functional, substance abuse, gambling to win back what you never will, which is why I've never been.
Only tell you when they win.
I've never set foot in a bookie shop because we all have this character within us based on the hole in our chest. That hole in our chest is called desire, and it's a bottomless pit. Some people fill it with gambling, drinking, drugs, women, but if you fill it with purpose, then you understand that there is just more of your purpose, which will never allow you to be derelict of your duty at the wheel. So I invest in that one because I know that I am compulsive and that will have impact at home, and I get these warnings frequently where I have to amalgamate the balance of family into that, and it is very easy to run away from any of those responsibilities, which is why the balance is
very important, isn't it? Yeah, it's interesting because in the book Think and Grow Rich, it specifically talks about purpose, clarity of purpose, and desire. Yeah. But it also has a section in there about, it was interesting you were saying, because it has a section in there about sex, because it talks about controlling your desire. So it's good. You want purpose and desire, but you have to have it under control. And it's quite interesting.
And just as you touch on that, it's something that we don't identify sex does, which Think and Grow Rich does. Sex is the most powerful emotion. Now, because sex is the most powerful emotion, it can be the biggest distraction when you find yourself in trouble. Because as you release, it releases a beautiful endorphin within you, which, due to that compulsive nature that we are all capable of investing in a particular thing, can distract you. And at an early age, I saw one of my brothers who had a very good business hide in sex, become derelict in duty, and that business went down. Yeah. And the downfall of that business led to him losing a lot in life. A lot. And this is someone who mentored me. Yeah. So I'm very fortunate to have had some of the lessons early out the gate that I've had, but I was very observant when they happened. There was nothing that missed me in those lessons. And I continue that now. I become more of an anthropologist. I become more analytical about every environment that I'm in. So I can come into the room like the mayor's office and everybody thinks it's about receiving money. And it took me 30 seconds. It's a mapping exercise. Let me get in and recruit all the people I don't have within my arsenal, because this gentleman has been courteous enough to gather them all in one space. And then I'm going to cut and serve my interests, because it's a bright sunny day. I go pick up my boy. So my cerebellum in increasing my intellectual capital makes me highly analytical in any room that I go in. So I know my role within the village is not grassroots delivery. And some people say, you talk. Of course I talk, but you don't know what I'm doing whilst I'm talking. And it's not my role to share that with you.
Well, it's interesting because you talk about learning, and this is very clear that you're constantly learning and growing, and obviously you read as well. Is that one of the lessons we want to teach our listeners is about, like most things in life, it's like you mentioned, like having children. To be a father or a mother is very simple. You don't need to take any books out. To open a business is very simple. You get £25, go on company's house, register a name,
Done.
you can say you're a business person. So one of the things that we try and educate our people is the importance of learning how to do it well, because it's more painful not to learn it.
Absolutely.
And it's like having a child without learning can be a very painful experience.
Absolutely.
Opening a business without learning how to do business can be also a very painful experience. So we know some of the richest people out there have gone bust.
Yep.
And they can talk about it as a joke because now they're wealthy.
Absolutely.
But at the time, that's not an experience you really want to teach. Would you teach your child to go bust as a way of learning how to do a business? You'd want to teach them, try not to go bust in the first place if you could help it, because at the time it weren't so nice. Another tack we want to take you on is we try to educate our listeners about this concept of black businesses.
Absolutely.
Now, one of the things we try and warn our listeners about is setting up a business for a low percentage. So in other words, we're 1% of the UK population, and a lot of businesses say, we're not supported by our community.
Yeah.
But one of the messages we're trying to get out there is, why go for the 1% when you can go for the 100%? So I just wondered, when you were in business, in your businesses, what's your customer base? How do you see your customers?
In terms of my retail businesses, I serve everybody, always, because you have to. This is business. Your pound is good. It's like when people say, "Oh, it's bad money." I say, you sound very naive, sir. There's no such thing as bad money. However, it were attained, if you got up close and personal to governments who go and invade countries and steal their wealth, it's not very pretty. So there's no such thing as bad money. It's just money.
It's just money.
There are people who call it bad money so they can obtain it back from those who earned it by so-called ill-gotten gain through unexplained wealth orders. However, there's no bad money. So as a community, we've got to look and say that the business is for all people. But what we do as a community in particular is go where we are tolerated instead of where we are celebrated. So there's a reason that I record the videos that I do, which are possibly an effective communication or not. It's because I want our community to understand you should have a criteria for how and where you spend your money. So in my communications, I exclusively talk to my people because I'm also seeking to educate my community that we should first have a criteria to enrich us. And then in tandem, I speak to my peers in the business community in saying that once you've realized a particular level of success, you are now obligated to employ 10% of your time and intellectual capital in investing in your community. And if you can, your resources as well. So what I do is I will bring business acumen into what has previously been the public sector. So it doesn't take me as long to get where others have got, because I know how to recruit based on those of a similar ilk. I know how to delegate based on their skill sets. I don't micromanage. People own their own roles. And when our community of business peers understand that they can do that, we are a force that has unstoppable momentum. So I disagree to a degree about it's a hard one, about the balance of black businesses, because anyone that looks at me now, and I have to speak about what I do in my mythology, I use social media for its actual purpose. So LinkedIn, I recruit professionals from various areas, and I may not know how I'm going to utilize them, or I didn't in the beginning, but I have around 1,800 friends on connections on LinkedIn, and they go across banking, they go across education, you name every area, public office. Everybody is African. My Facebook is about 3,500 connections. Everybody is African. The Solution Room community is around 1,500 professionals and influencers who I said I wanted to influence. Everybody is African. So now I'm unconflicted in my messages that I put out. I'm unconflicted in my purpose. My purpose is for them. My purpose is with them. I'm investing in them to create something that we have never had here, but we gave it away the minute we saw it not to have value, which were our cultural observations of economics. So when you talk about a partner, there are more than economic partners. You see, if I serve your business with my intellectual capital and skills, and then you serve mine, this is an unspoken partner. Now, these are cultural observations, which are how we do it naturally as Africans. Now, if we don't have those systems, the ones that we adopted as soon as we chose to be approval junkies, such as opening bank accounts and drawing down on loans that gave us interest, that gave the banks interest, we didn't do that with partners. You see, we didn't need to speak on Sharia law.
That's right.
Because we did it in function. So my thing is about function, and ultimate function is being in and of your community where you are celebrated, not tolerated. So although I serve everybody within high street businesses, my ultimate aim is to create those infrastructure businesses with peers and colleagues, such as banking, where we are the ultimately celebrated people within it and offered a premium service, whereas everywhere else we're treated like dirt.
Interesting. And now the other bit we try to explore about is, so we look, what we talked about, the 1% and the 100%, but
Absolutely.
what about even bigger than that?
Yeah.
We try to encourage our community. All right, there's some businesses like a hairdresser.
Yeah.
All right, if you're a hairdresser or a local hairdresser, you might not be able to think. You're not going to get somebody from the other side of the world necessarily coming to the shop, but you could sell goods.
Yeah.
I'm working with a hairdresser right now who has products, and those products don't have to be just for the local community. They can go global. So one of the things we're also encouraging is think bigger. The world is bigger. The world is out there for us. Absolutely. So we can sell our businesses or think about how we can sell services. I just wonder if you've got any thoughts about how our community can think bigger. The world is a big place.
Well, look, the business marketplace has been totally democratized by the internet. Now, there is no limitation based on you other than your own creative thought. And if you don't have it, get a business consultant, such as yourself.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're so emotionally invested in the business that you can't be objective to see what the actual assets are. And what somebody who comes from the outside will always see what is scalable in your business. So that's another thing that I look at in this part of my journey, is how to set up scalable businesses, because I want to realize exponential wealth for generational wealth. And these things like setting up trusts and purchasing properties that your family are going to live in, that no matter what nutcase they meet, are going to remain in the family within trust. You can only do that by deriving wealth. And to derive wealth from a business, it must be scalable. And sometimes you've got to stand back and be objective. I learned intentionally how to be objective. I would listen to materials at night when you're in that dormant period and re-educated my subconscious mind. So one of the things where there is no disconnect, there's no disconnect between my subconscious and my conscious mind. So that's how I see opportunities, because tucked back there, where there are things that connect, well, now they connect very quickly, based on the fact that I went through some small sleep deprivation for a couple of years to re-educate my subconscious mind to connect it to my conscious mind. So as soon as those synaptics connect, your analytical ability exponentially grows. And when you can realize that within business, you see the scalable elements very quickly. Now, based on the technology and social medias, if you are a creative, then it is totally free by your greatest asset, your time, to create those materials and put them out into the world. And then you start recruiting, because a corporate business has various expertise who operate on that job in that role 8 hours a day. Unfortunately, for all the goodwill in the world, lay people cannot help you. Because when you have a friend who does this, that is akin to a Facebook like. When a man is looking at you for bills,
Yeah, no, very interesting. Got a couple of book recommendations. Just as Dean was talking there, I was thinking about a couple of books, because we talk about scaling the business. Some people say, well, what does that mean, scaling the business? Well, Vern Harnish has got a book called Scaling Up. That's the one to buy, because that says it's on the tin. Scaling Up talks about how do you leverage a business. The other one we give business owners is called the E-Myth. Talks about how to start a business with the concept or the thinking of when you start a business, you think about how you're going to scale it, how are you going to franchise it maybe one day, or how you're going to sell it. And the other book is Built to Sell by John Wirlow, which talks about the key drivers in a business, so you can think about what adds value in a business, and value in the business is scalability.
absolutely.
So that's a key element. So if there was to our listeners out there, the people who are watching, what would you say is what would a top couple of tips you would give to somebody who's either in business or starting a business?
Fail every day on your way to succeeding. There's no other way, because unfortunately there's no substitute for experience. All of the things you think you're going to prepare yourself for, they're going to come and punch you in the mouth. And when you get punched in the mouth, two things happen. It hurts, and it might possibly make you a little dizzy. Stay on your feet, don't hit the floor, and engage those who have the experience that you don't. It is not necessary to be a lone wolf. My nature is as a lone wolf, but I started at 18. I was young enough to recover because I'm here. I think sometimes people think the big thing is for me to go and get so much experience in my job. Now I'm the business person because of all that experience in my job. So then I'm going to ask that individual, well, have you ever been responsible for a building outside of your home and maintaining that for others to operate in business? Have you ever been responsible
Good question.
for somebody else's income? What is the bulk of their income, and being able to maintain it? Have you ever been responsible for all these other bills outside of your family house? And do you know that you're not supposed to pay them when the letter arrives? Your business is about what makes profit. Stock, if you purchase stock, makes profit. If you have a bill, take time. Purchase stock, because your profit, which is going to pay that bill, is going to pay that bill.
Absolutely.
This is it. You've got to go through a fundamental education about what the priorities are. Now, if you're an approval junkie or a people pleaser, you don't have the correct character to go into business. I did not tell you not to go into business, but you must re-educate yourself and reformulate who you are, in that it's not about being liked. Now, do not misconstrue that with being nasty, because similarly, you will not survive in business. One must be killed in the way that you let people down, because there are times you're going to let people down, but they're on your journey. So when it is quiet for me, I have suppliers, and I might owe this man $2,500. Well, it happens that I've got $1,000 and I've got about 5 guys coming to see me. My brother, it's £200. You come and see me again tomorrow. This is what it is. And they look at me, and it's so nice because I said it's so cute. You can't
with a nice
hate
smile
me.
on your face.
And they're my brothers, and they're on my journey. And this is another thing. It just reminded me, because people say, how do I start a business? I haven't got any money. I haven't got that. Look, business is about developing your character. Because I started with credit from people who never gave me a credit check. I came in, spent a tiny amount. I came back, and I bought a little more. So if I bought 1 box of container goods, I come back next time and bought 2. Then I bought 3. So when I bought 4, then why don't you take 7? You can own me. I knew that was the case because I was building the relationship up to be that.
Absolutely.
All the time. As much as I talk, I have never gone into a room, excuse me, the business, doing business right there on my goods, and I leave. Every single one of the people that I've done business with, we've had Elon, we talk about politics, we talk about family, they're all races. We talk. Because, you know, one of the things that we forget, look, business isn't that company that you purchased for £120 in Company's House. Business is people who are very real, who have families, who might also have issues. I sat down with a man I'm giving money to talk to about problems he's got at home, knowing how lonely it is in our environment.
Absolutely.
This man is not my race. I'm a human being. So we forge these relationships in business. So this is another thing that I find that in the public sector, well, we've come here to do this and I'm John and this is, it's not. It's all relationships. It's all diplomacy. So when it's done from a place of love, you can never fail. But you don't know that at the beginning of your journey.
You've got to learn it.
You've got to learn it. And the bulk of what is going to save you in business is your relationships. Now, I play this game with my partner because I don't turn off and the phone might ring. Why are you so accessible? What is it? I said, my love, this is why men run the world. Because we don't. And I say it in jest, but look, if you're in business, you know the particular need.
When that phone is ringing, of that human being, because it's a human being on the end of the phone, and you can, these are my business hours, I'm very professional. Yeah, but you know what? When on a file a man's business hours, but you see me, now you could talk to me. So my number has become public domain. Somebody phones me up, and anybody from the outside who doesn't know my methods and processes, what are your criteria for taking these calls? I assess it as I'm in a conversation, but I take it. And I might be the one conversation this human being has had today to give them some clarity about their challenge.
Absolutely.
Now, knowing that, I have such a wide base to draw down on, and people would look at me and think, Dean does these things really fast. He set up the solution room April 27 last year, and that is 13 months, and you see these things are now taking place. There are teams having meetings when Dean isn't there, at the Mayor's office, in Parliament, in various quarters. Why? Because I understand. When you understand you're dealing with human beings, you know how to treat them with respect because you respect yourself.
Absolutely.
So there's never any boss or arrogance or this or that, or I'm the master strategist and I'm a project manager. I'm a cog in the wheel the same as you because I have a purpose within this ongoing concern, this vehicle. My purpose is to back you up. Your purpose is to back me up. I duplicate that out amongst all of those that my spirit takes to and are of a similar ilk, because if they're not of a similar ilk and my spirit doesn't take to them, there's no money you're going to pay me because I don't need that at this stage of my life. I'm good. So my criteria for doing business is that I like the people involved, and together we are going to learn to monetize that. But because of our experience, it won't take long.
Brilliant. So we've had such great insights from Dean. Just going to summarize some of the points that we've been covering in the show. Some of the things we covered today was about the importance of mindset and getting your mindset right, but also having a support system. We talked about mastermind group. You can talk about different things, friends, influencers, different people around you, but surrounding yourself with people who they call you, but also you can call on them. So they're an asset to your business, but also as you're having them hard times, you've got somebody to go to. We also talked about keep on learning. He gave references to things he's been learning on the road. You can't be experienced, but also it's good to read some books, mention some books to you. We talked about serving everyone. We've been making this point on every show about, do you serve the 1% or do you serve the 100% possibilities out there? So we talked about the fact that having a business that is open to all customers, make your business as accessible as possible, because the bottom line is we're here to make some money. All money is good money. We also talked about thinking global, that now we have the opportunity. Dean talked about the democratization of the internet, the fact that now we can reach customers anywhere in the world. So you might not have a service or a business that you think the internet can be sold on, but there is some way you can share that message. There's some way you can use social media to expand the reach of your business and who knows about your business. We all talked about building good quality relationships. Don't burn your bridges. You don't know when you need to call a favor. So Dean gave us an example of a supplier, that you keep the supplier happy. You don't dismiss them and just treat them with bad respect, because when you need them one day, they might not be there for you. So keeping those good quality relationships with people around you in the business that you can call on. He also mentioned about team, the importance of building team, having people, not doing it all yourself. One of the most common things people talk to me about. As a business coach, I'm always working with business owners and they say, nobody can do it like me. Now, this is one of the biggest mistakes in business, because if you think that way, guess what? In 20 years' time, you're going to be doing all of it. And in 30 years' time, you're going to be doing all of it, and you're going to burn yourself out. There's only so many hours in a day you can work. But once you understand leverage, which Dean mentioned quite a few times, the word leverage, means that you can deliver the services or goods to your customers and you don't have to do it personally yourself. Understanding that means that you can understand that you can recruit people who may be even better than you, or likely to be better than you at certain tasks, but it enhances your business. So you don't have to be the best at everything. And he gave the example of Richard Branson. He's a good example of that. Richard Branson's got about 400 companies. We know he's not running them all himself, doing everything himself. When you go Virgin Airlines, he's not checking you in or flying the plane. So we have to learn that there can be people out there that can do the job as well as you, if not better than you. But it's all about leveraging the business. But also remember, this is HMP TV. Make sure you're liking and subscribing, you're sharing this show, sharing information about this show. We want you to contact us, send us some information when we're live on air or whenever. Interact with us. And of course, if you have a business or you have a business idea, my name's Asari St. Hill. You can look me up, it's easy to find my name. Contact us, get some support, get some advice. You don't have to do this on your own. That's HMP TV, mind your business. Dean, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
That's HMP TV, mind your business. I've got so many different experiences that we've shared with you. Loads of tips. I hope you've been taking notes. Play it again. Enjoy. Come and see us again soon.
I can be.
While I break it down.
I can be.
You
gotta believe. I can be.
Whatever you wanna be,
I can be.
just have to believe.
I can be.
Special.
I can be.
halfway there.
I can be.
Now one more time, just say I can. Mama always told me that